Let there be light, and there was light. Words of the said God, Mother Eve, of course. Yes, so we have been exploring the characteristics of the gods of Genesis, 9 gods in Genesis of chapter 1 and 5 gods in Genesis of chapter 2. Oh, have I got my list with me? Okay, let's see how well I can remember this. So we have the first God, which is created, the moved God. Second, I'm just going to name them like this. So it's created, moved, said, Mother Eve, saw, of course, the God of soaring, divided, that's 5, called is 6, called, come on now. So it's called and made. We have okay, I've done divided, I've done made, I've got yes, ended, but ended is in 5, I believe. So we've got blessed, which is 6, and set, of course. So the 8th God is set, and then we have the blessed God, right? So I'm just going to go over this again. So it is the created, created, moved, said, saw, called, divided. Divided, I know it's the 5th actually, but I have them as 6 here. Divided, set, and made. Have I said made? No, made. So made and then set, and then we have ended. So oh, we have blessed, not ended, blessed. Right, so the blessed, I feel I've called them the 9 gods. Now, the 5 gods of Genesis of chapter 2 is the ended God, the ended, planted. I may not do this in order. Planted and formed, and ended, planted, formed. I think I'm gonna have to cheat here. Caused, caused, and yes, caused, and the 5th one would be breathed. Of course, nothing happens without the breath. So over this again, so it's planted, caused, breathed, formed, and okay. Oh, caused. I may have said caused already. Okay, but there's 5. Okay, but it's 14 gods. We are talking about 14 gods. Well, here we are about having fun, so it's okay if I don't really get it all in the sequence that I would like to, but practice makes perfect. Okay, now I had them on here actually, so but I really didn't want to. I really wanted to exercise my memory. Okay, so there we are. This is the list, and we have them in order right here. So it's from 1 to 9, and then we have this 5. I'm getting something now. Okay, we have 5 gods from here, from ended. Okay, so what I have discovered here now is there is a pattern with the 9 gods in their position of like from numbers 1 to 9, just like we would have on the sacrifice template, for instance, which is with Mother Eve. Wow. Okay, just trying here. So we have the sacrifice template, we have the numbers 1 to 9, and so it looks like as well that we have covered, in fact I thought we did cover numbers 1 to 9 in the gods here, but that is typical of Mother Eve, like there would be some hidden aspect to Mother Eve not being revealed through the gods here, like we have discovered in Genesis of chapter 1 with the lettings, like I have spoken in some of the videos that I've done with Mother Eve as the orchestrator, or the Lord who lets out. In fact, I did check out the meaning of Lord, and it's really one who is like the collector of monies, or the collector of monies owed to, or something like that. Okay, so Mother Eve is also, I believe, the Lord of Lords right there, but she's the one who does the letting. We see that quite clearly when she says, let there be light, and there was light, and let there be a firmament to divide the waters from the waters which was above the waters from the waters below the waters, and so on. Something to that effect, but I'm doing Mother Eve right there. Okay, so we see that there were 8 lettings, and these 8 lettings are coinciding beautifully with where we are at now. We are divinely instructed to see these lettings right now in helping us to not only assimilate with the 5th and 8th dimension, which we are in right now, but to also be mindful of where we are in the sphere of the 5th and 8th dimension, where we are conditioning ourselves to be, or disciplining ourselves to be, or it may not be any of these formats in a way, but we bringing in the language that we already know. But I see it as we are in a playground now, or it may be a serious playground, but we are in a new place, and in that new place, it's like really it's like psychologists are observing children in a playground, and that's how it feels like to me. That's how I believe. I use the word believe because we are talking about Mother Eve in the word believe, like Christ is teaching as well. Knowing that this is where we have the freedom, the freedom of, well, the freedom to to make our choices how we see fit, put it this way. But it's in the lie. It's really, that's where we are given that liberty to express what it is that we want to give rise to. This is where we are given the power to perform how we see fit, or or experiment, whichever way we want to see it. So that is what is happening here in the 5th and 8th dimension. So back to Mother Eve here, and the gods that we have just pointed out here, is that we have the 9 gods, and they of course tally with the 5 gods of Genesis, which is what I really want to point out here. And I know I was making another point even before moving on to that, with the 5th dimension. So with Mother Eve being the letter actually. So we see how proficient, I would say, Mother Eve is with the letters, because we learn the letters at a very young age, and as we grow up we are learning to form words with the letters like Mother Eve. This is what Mother Eve keeps doing with us, going through the cycles of development with us. And likewise we are not only forming words with the letters, hence John says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and so on. And so, but that was Mother Eve, really, all the way. In the beginning was Mother Eve, and the Word was Mother Eve, and the Word was and is Mother Eve, now and forever, ever more, meaning ever, meaning Eve, and more of Eve. So each more of Eve. In fact, the word Eve is really that which exists before the beginning of any event. So Mother Eve is always present in the beginning of any cycle or the end of any cycle. Hence, Mother Eve is beginning and end. Now, it is important that we recognize Mother Eve, because that is where we come from, and that is where we're going to return, so to speak. I know this may sound a little bit much to take in, but however, I'm just going with Mother Eve, the flow, serpentine, those kind of attribute or aspect. So then now we, of course, like our developmental stages, we are given the letters which form words that consist of the letters, and sentences that also consist of the letters, paragraphs, and so on, till we have pages of letters that we have constructed. This is where we are given again the liberty in the middle of the word believe, because in the middle of the word believe is lie. That is the it's like number 8 as well, because lie equals 8. Let's see, L-I-E. And this is 3 again. As I say, Mother Eve seemed to have a close affinity to the L letter there. So L-I-E, and it's 3 because her first word, which consists of 3 letters, is let. So there we are with 395, and that is the lie that we need to add these figures, which comes to 17, of course, and 17, 1 plus 7, which equals God, by the way, G-O-D. I know I do this pretty often, but considering the number of videos that are there, I find these key factors or things to anchor on to understanding the content of the videos that I am delivering. So this is really key. So G-O-D here is 764. Adding this together is also 17. 1 plus 7 equals 8. Okay, so we see that there is an aspect to Mother Eve. It's like I'm getting a picture where Mother Eve curls as the serpent, and there is a hole in the middle there, or she forms a hole in the middle, and in that middle it's like, this is where I think in Jungle Book, I am not quite sure if there was such a picture, but that's what I'm getting, where Mogul, or I don't know if I pronounced the name, the child who grew up in the jungle, where he is actually lying on the serpent, lying on the snake. So there we see, it's like, and it also reminds me of being in a ring or on a playground, and where you have these rings and you just got your legs and your butt is hanging down. Your butt is actually hanging down, but you're suspended by resting your head on the ring and your feet, of course, dangling over. So, but your butt and your body, your torso is really in a deep. And I believe that's what, with the word believe, that's the picture I am getting with Mother Eve. So depending how we choose to position ourselves in that circle, how we lie in that circle, depending on what we are performing or how we are performing in that circle, that's what gives rise to the aspect or all understanding of Mother Eve, or how we assimilate ourselves with Mother Eve. Okay, so back to now, I think I cleared that part of Mother Eve, which is much more to that, but let's look at how the 9 gods operate. Now, I don't know why I thought I really started doing it seemed like, unless I headed the videos differently, in a way that I haven't quite understood, but I was looking at the positions of the gods, how they were positioned, the verse of the Bible that they were positioned in, because that I saw there was a lot of correlation, or that was also giving meaning to the function and operation or position of the gods, because it's how they are positioned. For instance, the created God is positioned in the first verse of Genesis, meaning Genesis 1, chapter 1. But actually, we are looking at 2 1s here. But actually, when we do the numerical value for the word created, it equals 11. Of course, 1 1, 1 plus 1 is 11. Now, I'm not saying it's like this for all the gods, but I'm just looking at how they are conveying their language, because they are conveying their position there. And it doesn't mean that they all speak the very same language in the very same way. This is another thing that I am picking up. So Mother Eve, for instance, is the said God positioned in chapter 1 verse 3 of Genesis. That's her first speech. Of course, she goes down into about 8 verses, I believe, where she makes references, but we have a pattern for Mother Eve with 369, and so this is where Mother Eve first makes her mark in 369. Now, if we were to add 369 together, that tells us right there that equals 9. I think it's 9 and 9, 18, that would be. So 1 plus 8. Now, this is another point of where I was thinking from one of my videos that Mother Eve is really occupied or showing us or being more expressive. It's as if her function is really to teach us how to get from 1 to 8, mainly. Because, of course, Mother Eve is about 8, or eat. It's about food. The emphasis of Mother Eve is the whole journey, or from number 1 to 8. So we have Mother Eve in verses 3, 6, 9, and when we add this together, of course, gives us 18. So this is where I am saying I believe Mother Eve is making a very profound mark right there. The other thing that I also noticed, if we were to add, for instance, like I have pointed out, chapter 1 verse 3, that would be 4. Of course, when we do the numerical value for the word 4, it also equals 6, where I've done this before, so I'm not going to do it again now, but it equals 24. That also tells us about the 24 hours of the day. That tells us about in fact, it can go on to tell us or give us the impression of that there are 2 4s, meaning the blue is also 4, blue sky, and the green representing earth is also 4 when we do the numerical values for those. And of course, it would be 1 plus 3. Of course, we are talking about number 13 right there, which is the crux of the Last Supper with Jesus Christ, with the 12 disciples at the table, and of course Christ being 13. But we see 13 has transpired in many different ways, but of course this is what we call the incubator. So basically, when Mother Eve says let there be light, we can see Mother Eve is being like, okay, this is the incubator that is active. It's like whatever is happening is being processed at that moment. So that's what is so important for us to begin to understand the position of the gods and the language that they are speaking, or how they are relating to us. By knowing their language and knowing their voice, then we can begin to know how to assimilate ourselves according to where we are in that Garden of Eden that we are creating. Thank you, Mother Eve, because yes, I did mention it's a garden, but I had not mentioned it's the Garden of Eden. So basically, Mother Eve is like instructing us how we are going to eat or partake of that fruit that we are meant to be eating. And of course, by this very same thing Mother Eve has been doing with us, teaching us how to eat of the fruit and to become illuminated. That is our purpose, our main purpose. Those who are in the 5th and 8th dimension, that is the main purpose of our existence in that realm, to also teach, apart from other things that we are meant to be doing. Of course, before we can teach, we have to learn, of course, and we have learned to an extent why we are there, but we still have more to learn. Okay, so again, if we had to add verse 1 plus 6 as in here now, we would have the number 7. So the number 7 here again is reflecting Mother Eve as in the serpent. When we do the word serpent, and do the calculations for the word serpent, which is also present, it comes to 7. We also, if we were to do the same with number 9, add 1 plus 9, that would give us 10, which takes us back to what we are talking about. Mother Eve speaks to us, or is teaching us how to get to or function from 1 on the template, which is where we do our jazz. This is where we do our jazz. In that stage, for instance, it's as if you could do anything and get away with it. But being in a playground, you could run around and have as much fun as you want. But what happens in the playground, oftentimes we fall, we have a bruise, we get hurt, and we need to be nursed, and that's when we are calling out, mom, mom, So that is the same sort of thing that is happening even in the 5th and 8th dimension as well. This is why I say we are being monitored, we are being watched, basically. Okay, so we get an idea of how Mother Eve is operating here. Now, the word moved, of course, or the God moved, the God of movement, is in verse 2. Yes, so there in verse 2, we see that, of course, which equals 5. We see the moved God is represents 5 in the 2nd verse. Now, if we were to also count or add 2 plus 5, that would be 7. And of course 7 is, as I say, it's also representing Mother Eve. It's also representing the being present. Now there's the movement, as I have also conveyed in other presentations, why Mother Eve is the serpent. She is the movement, or the movement of the waters, that is like a mother who is in childbirth and is ready to say, oh, my water breaks. And that's the movement that was happening now, because the movement, of course, is what brings out all forms of life in that sense. Or so movement, of course, represents life in this sense. And of course, the word life equals 5. And like the word snake equals 5, which is also Mother Eve. And like I continue to say, and maybe it may seem that I'm giving more emphasis to Mother Eve here, but throughout all I've been doing, I am saying that that is fitting, that we should do that, because it's important we recognize the attribute or the makeup of our mother. That's how we are able to form healthy relationships. Yeah. So the mouth is mother. Here again, I'm saying there is movement, and the water breaks, and that's a mouth as well. The uterus, the word uterus, as we are talking about mouth, also equals 5. So Kundalini, where the serpent takes its rise, yes, to having a Kundalini, the word Kundalini too equals 5. The word pyramid equals 5. The word bring, to bring, again, there is an action and a movement, also equals 5. The double, of course, double mouth, the uterus and the mouth up, they both equals 5. This is where we can see Mother Eve also equals 10, because 5 plus 5 is 10 right there. Okay. The word vine, like Christ says, I am the vine and you are the branches. The vine actually equals 5. Mine, when we say mine, again, there was a character in Jungle Book always saying, oh, mine, mine, this is mine, everything was mine. So we see that that equals 5. The word men equals 5. So it's not about man, but it's a men equals 5. So that also gives the indication when we speak of man, and God created man in his own image and likeness, or God made man. I'm not so sure about, yeah, I did check in the King James Bible, I think it's created, and there was another part where God, and everything God made. Yes, so God ended his work from that which he had made. Now, that's another thing that we need to examine very closely, because what I am picking up here, the word he is also 13, like I have just pointed out with Mother Eve, as in having that third, being in the three, number three verse, the third verse. And of course, if we added chapter 1, meaning 1 and 3, that would be 13. So who was he that was being spoken of in those verses that spoke of the existence of male, female, he and them, okay, or and so on. So that's something I am examining, because that is a clear indication that we are, as human, not all that we think we are. We are, in the sense of, or not exactly as we think we are. Like we have different races, we say, although we all come under the umbrella of human. I also am believing that we have sub characters, if there's or attributes of other species that don't clearly okay, I was going to say clearly define us all as being the same. So there are different race of human, or different kinds of human, or species that look like human and perhaps not human. This is what I am getting from that verse. Or whether we all have now become all so assimilated or married with each other so much, like really having a garden and you draft different, like I think for instance grapefruit might be a fruit that is a cross between, say, lemon and orange, just for instance. So then you have grapefruits. You have something you identify as grapefruits, and grapefruits are grapefruits no matter where you see them, whether they are white or whether they are ruby red grapefruits, they are grapefruits. And I believe that is what has happened to human beings as well. So this is where, when we get about the he, him, and the he, them, and so on, this is really just, it sounds funny, but I believe there's so much more to it. And it's going to happen that we will know exactly what and who created he, him, and so on. Of course, I know Adam was really instrumental. I know, I was there. Okay, all right. So the position of the gods, again, this is what I'm saying. So we have the Soul God. So the Soul God is number 7. Is the fourth God. Yes. I'm glad I think I can just do this as the position of the gods in this, and without going through all the numbers in the calculations. But so this is the fourth God, but and does, yes, and he does appear in the fourth verse, and which I may have to double check. Yes, okay, so I may have to double check this, but I'm thinking that, isn't it really amazing that the Soul God also has this 7. He comes to the number 7, which is like a saw. It's just like you would hold a saw. This is like the handle or a lever, or the L upside down, that makes you, of course, as you make a step at a time, you are like cutting the waves, or the waves of emotion. You are lifting your feet up and down, and that is really the W right there. So this is what we could imagine, that this is your leg going this way, but you go up. So in lifting the leg, and we go down again, up and down, up and down, up and down. So this is the wave that is being formed right there. And that is exactly what the Soul God has been doing. So the Soul God in fact, has shown himself or herself, or I'm believing is or herself, it would be, yeah, interesting. I keep wanting to attribute the male or female gender to to the gods for whatever reason, but it's perhaps not so important either. But it just is that way that we tend to identify ourselves, again, more of their language, understanding their makeup in us, because they have given us their attributes in that sense as what we identify or how we identify ourselves as male or female. And so, rightly so, it would seem important or have some kind of significance that we are able to identify the gods in ourselves. Okay, as male or female. So the saw God we see here, we see his motion is really with that W, he's really with the 7, as I say, the L going up and down, because that would be the, in fact, I did something. So it's this way and it's this way. So the foot is going, and yes, and down again. Okay, so this is like a pants here, so it's probably male. Okay, right. Okay, so then we have the divided God in the 5th position. Now that I thought was really interesting. So the divided God, of course, the word divided equals 3. And 3 has the same motion in a sense as the 7 in this sense, but the 3 is what I take fun in doing 3, because 3 is so dynamic. It is the magic number. So it is M, and it is E, and it is 3, and it is W. So that's the magic of the M, or the number 3, and that's the God. So the God, the divided God in this sense is really dynamic. It's like there is a division, but not quite a separation. This is perhaps what the divided God is saying, but it's really hiding its attribute, because it's always, that's number 3, and I see free as the of course also equals freedom, and also equals let, because free has that happy tone about it, just the wave jumping around and swerving around and doing all kinds of gymnastic moves to just get attention. That is what number 3 is about. It's then it wants to be the M, it wants to be the 3, it is the E, it is the W. It's like no matter what position it is in, it is always looking at its W, its mirror. If it is the M, it is seeing the W. If it is the E, it is seeing the number 3. And that's what M is about. So hence, it makes me think about every time I see this, it's like 3 is already W, but when I see 3, I tend to think of words when we say for you. There is a conviction within me that is saying there are not just a W, 2 of us, there is actually 4 of us. This is why we say for you and we say for us. And in this for you, because this is not by chance, these words are there. There is a high intelligence that knows all of these aspects of what we are talking about or what we are sensing. As it is said, nothing new under the sun. So what I am coming here with now, what I am talking about right now, definitely we could say exists. It's just that we have not been able to fully explain it. So when you hear the word for you, F-O-R, there is the idea that we have not actually, just to perhaps simplify our understanding, because of, again, most of it is that we have not been bothered to understand much of our makeup. But it really is, when it says for you, again, the word you is actually you, our, the for of you, again, the W, whatever is being, you are being faced with. I don't know why as well. There is another thing that comes to mind. It's really doing the W. It's like our cheeks, or the two breasts I see as the W, and of course our buttocks as well is also a W. So perhaps we are not too engaged with the buttocks. Okay, this is not okay. Perhaps we are not too engaged with what's behind us, the W that's behind us, and we are more engaged with the W that's in before us, because these were the W's that really we were engaged with at our primal stage, being breastfed. But there is a W behind us as much as there is a W in front of us. So for you, meaning for yous, and of course for us. Again, the word us is giving more light on this point I am making here, because the word us, there we are saying for is like when we use the number four. FOUR is actually 6. Again, that's the number of man. But let's just look at that here as the symbol of as for as we use it. And for us, US is actually 13. Now that's what I believe the for you. Again, we see that we come out with the W right here as the symbol right there, which I have always said that this is where, again, the incubator and the beehive, this is where things are being manifested or incubated, or there's movement happening there. There's agreement, there's partnership, there's union, marriage, and so on. This is the 13, when one or two or three, or how Christ would put it, have come into agreement. You are coming with this bond here, this brotherly bond right there. So for us, or even when we say to us, the word to as well, which is also 13 actually, the word to is 13. So we can see that our language has been constructed in a way that actually offers a lot of truth of our makeup and the gods, but it's really about taking time to understand the construct and how we can make meaning of those constructs in relation to the gods and ourselves. So so to us, again, as I say the word to, so let's just make it clear. Just observing the time. So okay, to us is here. So this is 13 and this is 13. Now I have seen this correlation in the scriptures, where the God who made, or the God who made he, and the word he also equals 13, and the God who made them, and so on. So there is a strong pattern going on with the number 13 in both cases here. Now, and then for us, of course, the word for, as I say, is if we have the word for, it would be FOUR is 24. I won't be doing all this again. It's 6. And then we have us, which is also 4. Then we have 10, 6 plus 10. But we see there with the 4, okay, hoping you can see this. So this is not quite the same here, but we can if we are using the symbol, we can see if we are using the symbol, or it gives the air of the sim of, like Mother Eve says. This is where Mother Eve has said, I have not given you the spirit of fear, but the spirit of sound mind. So there would be a way of using this four here, and which would mean or have the same representation. Hey, it's like learning how to use this, but we can see that this has a double aspect to it. So it, in that four, carries the number of man, we could say. So it carries the number of man, and then like we know about being of six, or being made of six different meaning, or women, or species of being. So we know that. But that six that we were made of, it's like I'm getting the impression that there is four aspects of to each of us. Each of us have maybe a double somewhere, or that they say everyone's got a double, but I'm believing that there is not even just a double. There would be like, of course we have heard on parallel realities, there it's more than, there's a crime queen in, well, in everything that we can think of. Yes, that is something that I believe is widely accepted, but I am even also speaking of the aspects of ourselves in that sense, where we could see that it's like we are operating our north, south, east, and west, for instance, or the four elements, or the 4 points, or the 4 seasons that we are in this sense. So we are different in the winter to the summer, and so on, and that is what I mean. So we can see that when the term is used to say for you, it's like one is calling on all aspects of yourself in that sense, or to you, one is also calling on all aspects of yourselves. It's like really helping us with the language to merge ourselves and assimilate ourselves with the gods of our makeup. So the language itself is really constructed in a way to shape us into who we are. And that's what I believe Mother Eve really wants us to understand, because Mother Eve is the goddess of language, really. So, okay. So of course, we, as I said, the word divided equals 3, but it also is in the fifth verse, and we see on the sacrifice template, 5 is in the middle of the sacrifice template of numbers 1 to 9, meaning that there is 4 numbers or 4 digits on either side, and we have done this as well. So I could really urge that you watch an introduction to Cry Me Queen if you haven't done so, to get a fuller understanding of the template and the foundation of all this that we are doing right here. I think it really would help to give a strong base to all of this we are learning here. So we have the maid god, and which is the called god, so which is number 6. Before I move on to the called god, which is number 6, or perhaps in the 6th verse, I haven't really checked if I've got the verses correct. I will perhaps need to do another video to ensure that I am making the right references in accordance with the verses, because for instance, I know that the saw God and the divided God are both in the same verse, which is either verse 4 or 5. They are both mentioned in the same verse as well, of Genesis chapter 1. So yes, the divided God, yes, I was saying as well, equals 3, and that correlates with the first word Mother Eve utters as well, because it's the uttering of the word as well that really made that division. So the division was the stipulation of Mother Eve's word when she said, let there be light, and there was light. And the other thing that is important that we make note of to show the perfection of Mother Eve actually is to see that the word let, L-E-T, okay, oh, L-E-T is 3, 5, 2. Okay, when we add this together, it's 10. Of course, when we write the word, we see 10 has in its makeup, or if we just look, wow, it's supposed to be new pens. Okay, well, new cheap pens. Okay, so 10 is male and female, so we can see how Mother Eve is really balancing here. But in that balance, it takes a transformation of 10 as a word is really 2, 5, 5. Again, this is 12. Of course, 2, 6 is a 12. So we could say with the number of man, we could see how 2 to us, or 2 of you, or to you, is actually being expressed there. And even when we say to you as well, the word you is actually 7. I didn't do this. Okay. Trying to get a pen that writes. Okay. Let's try green. Oh, I haven't been covering them firm enough. Okay, so 2u, okay, y or u, which is 7, 6, 3. Adding this together, this is 16. So this 1 plus 6 is 7. So 2u is again 2 7s. It's like really saying 2 7s are 14, and then that makes up the aspects of the gods within us, the 14 gods within us, or the 7 days of creation, because there's 2 sets of creation. We notice 2 sets of creation in Genesis of chapter 1 and 2. So the first 9 gods are in one creation, and the next 5 gods